are going to go into paper pack number 3, and you will find this in there. On the back is this gorgeous print. So we are going to turn it so we are looking at it like this. We're going to measure over 7 inches and cut. Put the other piece in reserves. You're going to look at your paper like this, and we're going to measure over 8.5 inches and cut. Do not glue this down. Flip this around and check to make sure that you are going to fit, giving yourself a white border around it. That is absolutely gorgeous. Okay, set this aside. We can flip our whole main page over. Grab the mate to that magnet. It'll find itself. I'm just going to slip a little glue under there. Perfect. Okay. Let's just put this all off to the side. What we're going to be working with here is those 4 cutout pieces and these. So we're going to fold on those score lines, and we're going to need our 1/4 inch score tape. We're going to need 4 magnets, 1/4 inch score tape right here. Right here on our little hinge, we'll just place a piece of our score tape down. 1/4 inch will be just fine. We'll clip off any score tape that is overhanging. Okay, so let's look at this now to where our hinges are at the top. Now we're just going to flip that over so they're now at the bottom. If we push this down, you can't see your score tape. Your 2 magnets. And I hear my Roomba going. Place, that is about, what, about 1 inch or 3/4 inch in. We will place that. Now, in your cutouts, these are for the front, so we'll just stick that to the side. What we want are these. Now, you can ink around the edges if you'd like. And I'm going to place this one right here. I'm going to glue that right on down. And I'm not going to ink around the edges of these. And then there's this one. Now, don't get confused. There are 2 of the same panels here. One that we set off to the side, and then there's this one. We'll just place that down. Okay, how these are going to do is we're not going to hinge them over. These are actually going to just fold. So there's a bottom score line and a top one. We'll be pinching that and placing it. So I'm going to remove the score tape backing, making sure I'm even, and I'm coming in probably a good 1/2 inch or so from the side, I imagine. Try to keep that straight. And then I'm just going to push that up. Do the same over here. And I'm going to try and be the same. So I will push that down for a moment. Try and keep this the same distance as the other, and then I can push it back up. So they are the same. Alrighty, what we're going to do is we're going to glue that one down and that one down, but I'm going to ink around the edges of these really quick. I've got mine all inked around the edges here. I'm going to apply glue to these, and I'm going to glue these down. Now, grab 2 more magnets. You should be able to feel that you are flat up there, and you should be straight. Just flip those over and let these find the mates. Apply glue. Now, we're going to apply glue to this whole thing. Make sure you get your edges and around your glue, your magnets there. And we are going to place this on our paper. Let's place this down. And we will be even. So once I do that, now I'm just going to open this up so that I can get it flattened down and use this to make sure it's down really good. And then I got all the edges. we can flip this up. We got to get under there anyway. And we're going to put some lace here. You'll want to use the 3/4 flat Rochelle and cut 2 pieces that fit right here. Don't get any on your score line hinging. Just bring it right below. I hope you're enjoying this tutorial. This is a really fun album. And it holds lots of pictures. And what's good for is you can just lay your pictures. Okay, we're going to let that dry for a moment. Let's try this out while this is drying. This is a picture mat, so you may want to use your 65-pound cardstock. Cut a piece that is 5 5/8 by 4 3/4. In your reserves, you will find this piece. It is approximately 7 inches long and about 3 3/8 or so this way. Measure over 5 1/2 inches and cut. We're going to apply glue to this, and we're going to center that, leaving ourselves, well, a little bit of a white border. Looks like I need to trim off about a 1/16 from the edge to fit this nicely. So I'm going to trim. There, maybe my calculations will be better now. It is. So I'll apply glue. This is just a picture mat. Grab this, just place it in there, and that should hold it. So you can pile in more if you'd like. Alright, grab your bling. On this fold-out piece, we are going to line all the way around it with our bling. So let's start cutting pieces to fit around. And we'll glue those down. And I'll show you what mine looks like in just a moment. I've got my bling down. It's still wet and drying, but this is what it'll look like, and I think that's really pretty. Let's get our stickles out, and we are going to accent our little roses and our leaves on here, and this little thing here we can outline or fill it in, whatever you like. Over here I'm going to do the same thing, and the bow I will outline. And again, you don't need to use a whole lot, and I'm going to outline this hard as best I can. That's scary. Good enough. If you want to add it up here to that little trim in the paper, you can. You can also add it here and here, here. Do all sorts of things with this. If you want to outline this entire thing, you could. Okay, we need to let this dry. If you want to accent some of your stuff on the inside, do so. But this page is done. We're not going to add anything else to it. I don't think it needs it. I mean, if you wanted to. Okay, here goes my brain, guys. You know those little jeweled blingy things here? Well, they look like jeweled. We can always add them down here as pull tabs. Ooh. That looks cool too, huh? Okay, adding them. Oh, I have to add them now. And there we are. We'll let that dry. When you're done, on this one, you're going to flip it over and add score tape around the outside like a picture frame. You'll go 1 down the middle, and you're going to need 2 on either side. You may want to put a little piece behind the magnet as well. Page 6 is done. We are now on to page 7. We're on page 7, and off to the side you will find this beautiful print that we cut for our base sheet. On the back it looks like this, so that is what we're going to use. We also have pre-cut 2 pockets. One is the 5 1/2 by 11 inch, and it's labeled back pocket. We stuck this on our scoring board, so we were 5 1/2 across, and we scored at a 1/2 inch. The other one was a 4.5 by 11 inch labeled front pocket. We stuck this so we were 4.5 across the board. We scored at a 1/2 inch and then 5/8 inch. Those of you that are using the paper punches, what you're going to do is punch along the long side. Our score is on this side. We will punch on the side that does not have the scoring. And you'll do it for this one too, the long side with no scoring. Those of us that are using the dies, we're going to get into the Regal Borders and Pockets die play. So in our Regal Borders and Pockets, this one here, let's give that a go. I think it's really pretty. And there are two pieces that we need. We need this one and the one that fits on top. What we're going to do is place this so we are centered side to side. We've got to get that up there first to kind of fit right on in there. Just make sure that you are centered right in this, you are placed right in the center, and we'll die cut. And we'll also do that with this one. So let's do that. I got both of mine die cut, and if you have any pencil marks that are high that like this, then we're definitely going to erase. Okay, the front pocket goes on last, but first, die cutters. If you notice, we still need to cut in from the sides. There is a large area here. I recommend putting this on your paper cutter and lining it up so that you can get a straight line here and a straight line here. So let's do that really quick. We're working with the back pocket, and I've got mine cut. Mine was a little bit crooked, my die plate, but I don't think we're going to notice that much. Let's turn this over and fold. Okay. Next, what I want you to do is lay this down so that if you're a die cutter, this is centered in the middle. So once you've done that, what I want you to do, because we do need to clip out a little bit down here, so I recommend just bringing it up until you can see the bottom, leaving a little bit showing. And then we're going to grab our pencil. Hello, pencil. Where have you gone? Here we go. We're going to make a mark right where our decorative paper meets here. Now this is everyone to do this. And we're just going to draw up to that line, our score line. Now what we're going to do is clip. So we clip a little side piece out. Okay, let's hook this on. And we'll just get that. We'll turn it over so we can actually see to make sure that this bottom fits and meets right at the edge of your paper. Once that's on, we can glue it down or flap back behind. Okay, holding this down here, we're going to pull over our sides. And now all we have to do is glue our flaps. Okay, so this is our first piece here, and you should have a nice area to get in quite a bit. In your reserves, you're going to find this piece. It's a good 12 inches wide. On the back, it looks like this. Looking at it like this, we're going to measure over 9 1/4 inches and cut. This is what you should have. Let's just turn that. We're going to measure over 2 inches and cut. These two pieces we're going to want. The bigger one we'll just set off to the side. This piece here, we're actually going to slide up right underneath our trim. And leave yourself a little bit of a white border there. And we're just going to glue that down. Let's grab our front pocket and we're going to do the same thing. Die cutters, you're going to need to line that up and so that it is right underneath the other. Leave yourself some space, everyone, so that you can draw your little pencil marks over here. Okay, and we will clip out. We're going to go all the way up to the top line. Flip this over and now let's fold on those score lines. Perfect. Okay, once you've done that, go ahead and push it back so when you fill down here, it's a flat edge. We're going to hook that on, back behind, and then we're going to flip it over and line up to our sides. Hold it down so it doesn't slip, and let's apply our glue. Make sure you don't get glue on that score line. So that's our spacing down there. And that's what it should look like. Let's take this piece, line it up so that you have a little bit of trim showing. And what side do I want to use? I'm going to use this side so that, which way? I like it like this. So now the pearls are going over here. So we're just going to measure to fit everybody. There should be enough here for anybody who used the punches. Die cutters, just bring it up, and you are going to be overlapping onto your die. So now we just make a pencil mark where the bottom of our page is, and we're going to trim to fit. So I'm going to cut. Let's apply glue and glue this down. Look in your white reserve paper, and we are going to die cut a branchy piece that's going to fit from left to right. So that's about 9 1/4 inches wide. And then we'll ink it to color. We're going to do something a little bit different with this. So we did a piece that fits side to side. That's perfect. But measure over 5 1/2 inches and cut. Now you may have a blunt edge up here. So what I'm going to do is just kind of round it off. Same goes with this one, and I think I'll just round this off a little. What we're going to end up doing is something like this. So let's prepare our stickles and give this a head start on drying. So let's apply our stickles to these pieces. Got my stickles on. I'm just going to set this off to the side to let that dry. You should have enough of the thin, flat Rochelle. And we're just going to cut a piece to fit side to side. And let's see, you should have enough left over for up here. So we're going to glue those down. Then what we're going to do is cut a piece of bling, one piece, and that one's going to go right on top. In your reserves, you will have this big piece. It has some sentiments, and it has this. We're going to cut out and around this piece. We're also going to cut out Save the Date. We're going to cut out the heart for now. Once you have your pieces done, let's ink around the edges. Look in your white cardstocks, and let's put glue on the back of this, and we're going to mount this on there, and then we're going to cut around the edges. I'm going to probably try to leave a little bit of a white border when I do that. The next thing is you're going to want to do the same. Save the date. And we will leave this one, cut around the edges. Now you don't have to leave white border on the heart. We just want to add more paper to thicken it up. So let's do that. Got all my pieces done. Now before we go any further, because our stickles is probably still wet, we're going to flip this over. We're going to apply our score tape. So we're going to go around the outside edges like a picture frame, 1 down the middle and 2 on either side. You'll want to burnish down all your score tape. And once you're done with that, let's flip it over. So this is actually going to set right like this, and we're only going to apply glue towards the bottom. So give yourself about 3/4 of an inch up from the bottom. We're going to maneuver this over, and we're going to do this off at an angle like that. Now be careful, these are wet. This first one is going to glue at an angle. Some of it will go over the edge, but not enough to hurt anything. So maybe about a 1/4 inch off if you do it. If not, you can bring it in a little bit more. But you want to make sure that you leave enough so you can see some of your roses there. So I'm going to apply my glue on this, making sure I get all my leaves, and I will glue it down. There's my first one. The second one, we're going to bring it over more and glue it off at an angle as well. So let's grab our heart, and we are going to place that right here, but we're only going to put enough glue at the bottom. Save the date goes right here. And on this one, we're going to put glue on the side. That's going to hit the heart, and then on the bottom. We're going to need several of our white Tim Holtz flowers. I have zoomed in so that we can see everyone, and I'm going to just start gluing these down. And I'm definitely going to have to wash my hands after this. Definitely. We will be applying stickles to this. Okay, I think that's good enough. I'm gonna get my stickles out, and I'm gonna start putting it all over my flowers. Okay, so I did a lot of accenting with my stickles. I actually outlined my little heart, save the date, and I put some in the middle. I'm not sure if you can see that. I also added some on the top of my trim and some of the artwork. This page is complete. We're going to set this off to the side to dry. We are now on page 8. We are on page 8, and this is the one that we are going to be using. We set this off to the side. On the back it looks like that. We also pre-cut 5 different pieces, so let's start. And I'm going to get my scoring board over here to show you how we scored. We cut a 3" by 5.5" pocket. We laid it so we were 5.5 across the board. We scored it a 1/2 inch and 5 inch. Then we rotated it so we were 3 inches across, and we did one scoring at a 1/2 inch. We cut a 3.5 by 7.5 piece. We called that right side flip. We laid this so we were 7.5 across, and we scored at 7 inches. We also cut a 5.5 by 5.5 piece, and we labeled this waterfall top. We placed this on our scoring board so we were 5.5 inch across. We scored at 5 inches. We had a 5.5 by 6.5 piece we labeled Waterfall Middle. We laid this, we were 6.5 across the board. We scored at 6 inch. And last we had a 5.5 by 7.5 inch, and we labeled that Waterfall Bottom. We laid this so we were 7.5 across the board and scored at 7 inches. So let's do this real quick on each one of your flips and waterfall. So you have a side flip and you have 3 waterfall. We're going to fold on those score lines. So when I've already got these folded, next what we're going to do is lay these all out. Our peak is up, and we're going to lay a piece, let's see here. We're going to lay a piece of our 3/8 score tape right here. Here is my score line, so in between the score line and the edge of your piece, our 3/8 will fit in there perfectly. And we'll snip off anything that overhangs. And we're going to burnish these down. We'll clip off any overhang of score tape for sure. And let's grab our base sheet. Grab your waterfall bottom. We're going to remove the score tape on that. We're going to fold it back. And we're going to do this one just a little bit different than before. I'm going to bring this down so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to line that up with the top corner of my piece and lay it. Once you have it down, burnish it down. So we're just going to flip that up. We burnished it down. We're going to grab our waterfall middle and we're going to place that. And try to stay straight as we can anyway. And we place that right underneath the hinging of this one. We'll flip that one up and we'll do the same thing here, folding it back, placing it up underneath there. So this is what you should have when you lay it down. Then you're going to want to keep this side down right now. For this one, we'll remove the score tape, and this one is going to place all the way over to the right, and you should line up with this one. And there's going to be a gap in between. And we'll just now flip all those up. Our 3 by 5.5 inch pocket, we're going to just snip out those little corners. And this one, we're going to punch along the long side. For us who are die cutters, I'll show you what we're going to use. In your Sweetheart borders, we're going to use this top one, and we're just going to center this side to side and run this through our die cutter. Remember, our score lines are over here. Once you've die cut your piece, we're going to do what we did before, is fold in those sides. Use our tool. Be careful on your die cut trim. Fold up the bottom. Okay, first ones that go in are the sides, and bring that up. We're going to put some glue on our trim. You may need, I'm going to get the pin out of my mouth. You may need to put something in behind there. The rest is our 3/8 score tape. And we're going to place that at the bottom. That. Trim. So we're going to do something a little bit different with our trim. Let's start with die cutters. die cutters, I want you to die cut and look in your reserves for cardstock. You will do 2 of these. Now notice that this is straight down from the sides here, and you're going to leave about a 1/2 inch trim that you can attach. Those of you that have the punches, what you're going to do is your width is also going to be about 4 1/8. And underneath your trim, you will leave 1/2 inch. So you will punch 2 pieces that are 4 1/8 across, and then about a 1/2 inch under your trim. And then we're going to set these off to the side. Let's find our decorative paper. First things first. In your reserves, you will find a long piece like this. It is approximately 7 1/4 inches by about 3 3/4 inches. Looking at your paper like this, measure over 6 7/8 inch and cut. We're going to apply glue, and we are going to leave a little bit of white at the top and the bottom, and we're going to center that side to side. So we'll have the same amount of white on each side. So let's do that. Make sure that those sides are down really good, and the bottom. Next, in your reserves, you will find that the die cutters, have one that goes like this, and the people who had, whoops, I spilled my little shake. The people who had cut like this at an angle, you will have one that is cut at an angle. We're going to look at our piece actually like this. We're going to measure over 6 7/8 inch and cut. Put your smaller piece in reserves. Now we're going to measure over 1/4 inch and cut, measure over again 1/4 inch and cut. So this is what you should have on the back. It looks like this. So we're going to be applying glue to this side, and we are just going to butt these right on up, whoops, next to this piece. You'll want to make sure that you get glue right on the edge of that piece, and then you're going to push it next to this, and you're going to burnish it down really good. We're going to find our piece for this one. In your reserves, you will find this piece. On one side it's this, on the other it is here. So we're going to look at it like this so that your flower is up on your right side. Measure over 5 3/8 inch and cut. Okay, just put this one, the big side, up out of the way. We're going to flip that over to the lighter side, and we are going to leave ourselves a little bit of a white border at the top. You can match it up with this one, and we're going to glue that down. Okay, this little piece we set off to the side. Look at it like this. Your writing's upside down. We're going to turn it like this, so the dark side's off to here. We're going to measure over 2 inches and cut. The large piece goes back in our reserves. The writing is now here. Measure over 5 3/8 and cut. Apply glue to the back, and we're going to butt this up right underneath, and then we're going to use our bone folder to make sure that our seams are together. Now I realize our writing is upside down, but it doesn't matter because you really can't even read it. At least I can't. Push it up, make sure it's flat. Now you may see a little bit of a seam line there, and that's okay. We'll fix that. In your reserves, you will find this lacy piece on this side, and it looks like that on the back. Measure over 5 3/8 and cut. So this is what you should have. I'm going to apply glue to this side because I want this side to show up. And when I place glue, I'm going to try and get those edges really good. This piece here is going to place here, and this one is going to place here, right next to it, so we can slide something back beneath there. But we're not going to quite glue that down yet. I think I want to put something back behind, but I'm not sure, so hang tight. Okay, there are a couple things that we're going to need. First, in your reserves, you will see this piece on the back. It looks like this. We're going to cut out and around this gorgeous panel here, and we'll ink around the edges. Then, in your reserves, you should see this. We're going to fussy cut around this beautiful piece here, and we'll ink around the edges of that as well. So let's do that. We're going to apply glue to this, the back of this actually. We will place that down right up here, about a ½ inch or so, about a ½ inch down from the top, and just center that as best you can from side to side. Let's apply glue. Now on this, we're just going to apply glue right here, about 1/4 of an inch worth of glue. We're going to stick that right over here. Kind of center that top to bottom if you can. We'll burnish that down. This one, same thing down there. And you're going to position this directly across from this one, as best you can anyway. I think that's pretty straight. I'll burnish that down. As for this one, we're going to glue that down to some white cardstock, and we're going to fussy cut around this, and I'm going to probably leave a little bit of a white border if I can. I've got mine done, so I'm only going to apply glue underneath this from about here all the way down. So I'm going to flip this over and show you. And this is going to place right here. So you can still get something back behind there. So let's deal with what we're going to do with right here. In your reserves, you should have this very long piece. On the back, it looks like this. What we're going to do is measure over 7/16, a very slender piece, cut. Measure over again 7/16 inch and cut. So as you can see, they're just a little, 7/16 is just a hair under the ½ inch, and that should fit perfectly side to side there, leaving you a little bit of a white border. However, we do need to trim this. So I am going to make a pencil mark on each one of these, and I'm going to trim. Wish me luck, I'm doing it by hand. Hopefully it'll look okay. Snip. Okay, we're going to apply glue, and we're going to glue those down on each side. This is what yours should look like, and we're going to leave this alone until it's time to do our decorating. We're just going to flip these up, and we're going to find a piece for here. Pull this back out of your reserves and look at it like this. Measure over 6½ inches and cut. Now we're going to apply glue to this, and we're going to glue that down. I'm going to zoom in here so you can see what I'm doing. And we're going to use this side up. Now if you place this down, you will want to center so it looks like you have a nice even white frame around this piece. Before we glue this down, I had to pull my back up because I forgot here. Grab a magnet, grab 2 right now actually. See, I make mistakes too. And we're going to slide that right back behind. And I'm probably a good inch or so in. And then what we can do is we're going to glue this down. This one, we're going to need one as well. And we're going to bring it down approximately, what, 3/4 or so? Yeah, about 3/4 of an inch, bring that down. Let's find our paper. In your reserves, you're gonna find this piece, and it looks like this on the other side. It is approximately 3 inches wide by 4 3/4 or so. We're going to apply glue to this, and we're going to center that the same way. However, I think I want to do something and leave the lace up here and try to make that even with the other one. Okay, also in your reserves, you're going to have this where you can see the pearl going over like so. The first thing I want you to do, and we're going to use our scissors, is just kind of cut along, and you can make grooves for those. It'll look really nice if we do this kind of around those pearls. Now when you get to this part over here where it kind of goes up, we're going to do the same thing. I'm just going to do the best I can. So this is what you should have, and I think that's going to look cute. And we're going to have to measure over this way, 3 inches, and cut. Okay, this is something extra I decided I wanted to add in. Cut a piece of cardstock that is 4 inches wide by 5 inches tall. We're going to need our scoring board, and we're going to lay it down so we are 4 inches across the board. At a 1/2 inch, we will score, and at 3.5 inches, we're going to score. We'll rotate it, so now we're 5 inches across, and we will score at a 1/2 inch. Alrighty, before we do any cutting or bending, what I want you to do is we're going to ink just up through here. We're going to apply glue to this, and we're going to mount this in between those side score lines. Just place that right in there. Make sure you are straight with the bottom, not on the score line. Perfect. Now, before we go and fold, we're going to come down, or actually just come over from the side, be easiest. And we're going to fussy cut around this brown, or the edge if you're not using ink. And just follow it along. I am leaving a little bit of a white border. Go like that. Once you have that, it is time to cut out the bottom squares. We are making a little pocket. We will fold in our sides. We definitely want to use our bone folder for this to crease and get it down. And once those sides are in, that's when we can add our glue. We're going to want our 3/8 inch score tape for this. Sorry if my head keeps bumping the camera thing and making it bounce a bit. Not much I can do. It's either have it bounce around or not film at all. Once you put your score tape down and you remove your backing, and it's time for me to wash my hands, you're going to bring this even with the bottom of that one and on the sides. And we will press. This is just a small little pocket. Now, one thing is if you haven't laid it yet, or you can get underneath, you can clip that little white piece that kind of shows. If not, it's fine. What I want you to do now is shut this. We're going to flip this over. Now, it's going to bulge out because of the weight we have under there. What I want you to do is push it down a little. We're going to let this side, the large side, find its mate, which should be right there. We're going to put some glue underneath that. This one is different. It glues onto this. Let's get the mate up there. We're going to dab a piece of, or a little dot of glue. And remember, we want to push this down. Make sure your paper's down. Press. And remember, glue on the magnet goes to the glue on the paper. That is a good way to remember so you don't put your magnets backwards. Alright, so that should be latching. We'll put that up. Let's find paper for this. Grab the cover to paper pack. What do I have? I have paper pack number 3 in front of me, so that's fine. We're going to measure over 5 inches and cut. This is the piece that we actually want. We're going to measure over, what was it that I said to myself? 5.5 inches and cut. Before you glue this down, take a look. You're going to have a white border around this one too. Apply glue and glue that down. We're going to flip this one up. Grab that leftover piece out of reserves. It's the other half to this one. Looking at it like this, we'll measure over 5.5 there too. Apply glue and center that, giving yourself a nice white border. It should line up with the side of your paper up there. And glue it down. In paper pack number 3, you will find this print on the back. It looks like this. Measure over 5 inches and cut. Okay, we have a couple different cuts. We're going to measure over a small piece, which is 5/8 inch, and then we're going to cut. We're then going to measure over 4.5 inches and cut. Measure over again 4.5 inches and cut. So I'll show you what I have. You should have 2 pieces off that cutting that are 5 inches wide by 4.5 inches. We cut one at 5/8. We're going to apply glue, and guess what? That now makes this look a lot better. And it looks good. We'll glue those down. I've got this piece glued down, this piece. We're going to flip that up. This piece gets glued down here. So let's do that. In your reserves, you will find this on the back. It looks like this. Whoops. Let's just cut this little piece out. Remember the little cutting that was left over after, well, no wonder it's popping up. My magnet's stuck. That we cut off here. It's kind of an odd shape at one end. Okay, we're going to measure to fit and use this. This is a perfectly good piece. I'm going to put this across that way. And I'm not going to worry. I'm going to leave just a hair of white showing. Probably about a 1/16 inch in from the side there. Now notice you'll have some white down here, a little bit more. Don't worry about that. We're just going to make a pencil mark here, and we're going to cut straight up. Because guess what? We're also going to fussy cut around this piece and ink around the edges. I am still working on this piece. We're going to fussy cut and ink around the edges. Bring this up so you have a white border, and we are going to measure to fit. So I'm going to just place a pencil mark where I need to measure, and I'm going to trim that, and then I'm going to glue it down. And you're not going to center this side by side. Again, you'll push it over more to the left, leaving about a 1/16 inch of white on this side. This is what you should have, and I'm glued down. Notice I have a little thing. For this, I am not going to back it with white cardstock. All I'm going to do is glue over to the edge and along the bottom, just in case you'd like to. I'm going to be a little thicker on the bottom. And I'm just going to move that over. Notice how it doesn't matter anymore about the white. And I'll put that off at an angle. You should still latch. Whoops, once again, my magnets. So you should be mad. This page down here does not need anything. And I think we're good up here. If you'd like to use some of your stickles, before we do anything, we're gonna turn this over. We'll put score tape around the outside like a picture frame, 1 down the middle and 2 on either side before we start adding stickles. Okay, I've got my score tape on the back. It's burnished down. And now comes the little fun stuff. If you would like to add stickles to the inside of this, you can. I am going to put a little on the bow here, and I'm going to get my flowers and my leaves. So this is going to need to dry. And then over here, I am going to just draw a line down the middle. I'm next going to use my finger to just kind of make that sparkly. I'm going to add stickles out here as well, just some of the leaves. And this, you don't have to, guys. I'm just doing it for the extra effect. I think it's beautiful. I think it adds a little more, although you don't have to because it's already really nice. I am going to go along the edges like I did on my previous page, and you don't need a whole lot. You can do whatever you want with all the swirl work over here. So I'm going to finish mine up, and then we're going to move on to page 9. Wow, we are on page 9. Amazing. So I'm not sure if I showed you this page when it was mounted or not. You should still be latching. This is the page before. So I got those in, and I did get these in, and this should still be latching. And that as well. So, now, one thing is, and I'm going to show you a trick to these sometimes. If for any reason that any of your snaps, by the time you flatten it all out, does not snap down, okay, what you can do is grab a magnet, go back behind the entire page, and let it find its mate again. That is a trick, and then you would put it back here. Okay, mine are latching, so I'm all good. Let's move on to page 9. Almost forgot. By the way, I cut off a couple of those neat little trims, and I attached them down here. I thought that would look really cute. At the end of the tutorial, what you will do for this part, these little pieces in between here, you can cut 3/8 inch strips to fit across on in between on here. And we'll do that together if I can remember. There goes my magnets again. Okay. So that was just something, and your pages should look nice and neat in there. Page 9. So the piece you want to find that you set aside was this one. On the back, it looks like a bunch of tags. And the pre-cuts, we had a few. We had a 2-inch by 7.5 inch, and we labeled that middle flap. We had a 5.5 by 8.5 inch, and it was top flip right. We had a 5.5 by 8.5 top flip left, and we had 3 pieces that were cut the same, 4.5 by 6.5. Left side flip on flip. And the last piece that we pre-cut was a 7 3/4 inch by 10 1/4 inch, and we called that our hidden pocket. Now, I will show you before we use these what the proper scoring was. It'll make it easier for us. So the first one that we want is the top flip left. We had laid this on our scoring board, and we had scored at a 1/2 inch, and we also scored at 5/8 inch. We're going to fold back on our scoring lines. So you have an inside score line and an outside score line. We're going to pinch on that outside one, and we are going to just hook that back behind. So once you have it in place, let's glue that down. Once you have this one down, then you can fold back on that other score line until you can feel that it's flat on the edge. Now on the other one, what we did, now you might see an extra score line on mine because mine was the draft, and I'm going to use it because it makes no difference to me. No one's going to see it. We are 8.5 inch across the board. This is our top flip right. We scored at 7 7/8 and 8 inches. Let's fold on those score lines just like we did on the other. You have an inner score line and an outer one. We're going to do the same thing that we did before. We're going to hook that on, hold our paper as straight as we can, maneuver it. Once you find that you have it and it is straight together, pinch and hold it, and we are going to glue down this flap. Once your glue has dried, you can move it back on that other score line and fill with your finger until it's flat. Let's get our hidden pocket ready to go here. So we laid this across the board at 10 1/4 inches. We scored it at a 1/2 inch and 9 3/4 inch. We rotated it so we were 7 3/4 across. We scored at a 1/2 inch. I'm going to set this off to the side. And we're going to snip out these bottom little squares. We'll flip this over, and we will do what we normally do here, is folding in the sides, and we will tack those sides down. Now for this one, we are going to snip the top at an angle. Just snip it just like that. Okay, so we do need to lay a piece of decorated paper on the back side. In your reserves, you will find the cover to paper pack number 3. We're just going to cut this tan band off, and I'll show you what mine looks like. Measure over 1 5/8 inch and cut. This is what you should have. Measure over 9 1/4 inches and cut. Now remember, we are looking at the back side with our flips. We're going to glue this piece right back behind here. One thing is if you find that if you lay it back in there and it wants to goop up, that means that we have to trim a little off the sides. So I'm going to trim mine and then lay it to see how I fit. And now I'm a little bit better. I'm going to glue that down. Alright, so we're going to stick this off to the side. It is time. This piece actually is going to come back behind our base sheet so that we have a nice large pocket at the top. However, we want to create a little dip in here. So grab your ruler and a pencil and make a mark at 4 5/8. That should be somewhere in the middle there. Next, what you'll want to do is make a mark at 6 1/4 inches. And the last one, we'll go 3 inches there. We'll just put pencil marks here. Now, if you have your score tape here, if you line up the sides, this is just our middle point here. That's all that is. These are our markers for the sides. Take your score tape and kind of bring it down to where it's looks like it's even. We just want a little dip. I'm just going to use this and cut this little dip out. Erase any pencil marks, and if you have any brown ink, you can just kind of ink to emphasize that a little bit if you'd like. You don't have to. It is time to get this back behind, so we're just going to close this all up. Grab your piece, and let's take a look at what it's going to look like when we get it back behind. It's going to look pretty cool. We want our 3/8 inch score tape, and mine again got legs and ran away from me. Here it is. Ha! This little piece, we may use that. I don't know. Let's just stick that off to the side. Okay, we're going to lay our score tape, bring it all the way to the top. We do have notches that we cut out, so be very careful. You'll just re-snip off. Definitely want to make sure that score tape is down. All right. Let's remove our score tape backing. Okay, this piece. This is going to go right back behind. So let's see. Let's just turn our base sheet over. I think that might be best. We're going to now line this up with the bottom of our paper. And up here is where those are going to fall. Hopefully we can get that straight. Okay. And definitely use this to really burnish that down. Let's flip it over. Now look, we have a nice huge pocket back here to get into. The rest of this, we can't install our little flips, but we can definitely start on, let's see here, getting our paper. In your paper pack number 3, you will find this print. On the back, it looks like this. Measure over, what was that? 7.5. Measure over 7.5 inches and cut. We have the big piece in our hands, and we are going to look at it like this. Measure over 5.25 inch and cut. Measure over again 5.25 inch and cut. Let's flip these on over. This should fit perfectly right in here, and we're going to glue that down. This one, flip it over, and you'll have a nice border over here too. So let's glue those down. I grabbed the cover to paper pack number 1 that we had cut into. We are going to come in from the side and grab this piece right here. So it is partially has some brown on it, but it doesn't matter. Let's just try to cut this out the best we can. And we will ink around the edges. And then what we're going to do is put this down onto white cardstock. And we'll glue it down, and then we're going to cut around it, leaving a little bit of a white border. So that's the best that I could do. Not too bad. Prepare a couple of your leaves, and we're going to stick it like this. Before you glue that down, what you're trying to get is some that come out the side like that. So I think I'm good where I was there. As soon as we're all done putting this together, we'll add our stickles. Okay, for this, make sure that's down. We're just going to get the bottom half here, so that in case you want to slide something back behind, and we will place that. Very nice. Whoops, I got something on there. We'll just fold this one in, and we'll find our paper for this. In your reserves, you will have this beautiful print. On the back, it looks like this. The first thing that we want to do is measure over 1/2 inch and cut. Keep this handy for now. measure over 5¼ inches and cut. Measure over again 5¼ inches and cut. This is the little leftover piece. After cutting these two, measure over 1/2 inch and cut. Put that with the other little piece. Okay, so I have the left, and we are going to position this so that we have a little bit of a border, about 1/8 inch of a border here, and we are going to glue that down. Open it up, and on this one, we're going to flip it over and have this side. We'll apply glue here, and we will place it over to the left of our page, leaving about 1/8 inch here, center top to bottom, and glue that down. These two pieces, let's see, you'll want to measure over 5¼ inches and cut. Okay, there's one that will have some lace on the back side. We're actually going to put glue on this side, and we're going to glue that right next to this one. And it's darker, so it kind of looks cool. Got mine down. This one. And what do I want to do here? Oh, decisions. I'm going with the lighter side. But I am going to ink the side that's going next to this. There we go. In your reserves, you will have this pretty little cutout. Take your time finding it. We're going to apply glue and glue that down. We're almost done with this, so we got that. We got that. Now, let's see here. We had these little flips. We have 4 of them, and we're just going to close this right on up, and we're going to fold on these little hinges. And I need to move some stuff out of the way. So this is where people who have the punches, here's our score lines over here. You can punch along this side of each one. Those of us that are die cutting, we're going to get into the Sweetheart borders and use this one up here to die cut our edges. So I'm going to do mine. So this is what I have here. I am going to, I'm right-handed so it's easier, and we folded back. We're going to grab our 3/8 inch score tape, and here's our little hinge. And we're just going to place it over there like we've done before on other things. So let's remove the score tape backing off one of ours here. We'll just fold that back. We'll center it from top to bottom. And from our decorative paper over here, move in about 1/4 inch. So just try to get it as even as you can. Once it's down, we'll burnish. Let's open that up and grab our next one. Okay, this one's just going to fold back and go right where that one ends, that thing. So try to get them straight, and once you have it down, burnish. Last one. Pull it back, we'll line up and place it. Perfect. So when you close, it's going to be like that. Let's find our paper for in here. In your reserves, you'll have this long strip. We're going to measure over 5 inches and cut. Die cutters who use this, if you were to place this down, you'll still have a white border over here. Those of you that use the punches, okay, you'll notice that this actually comes up over your trim. We will get to that in just a minute, but let's take a look at our papers like this. Measure over 4 3/8 and cut. Measure over again 4 3/8 and cut. Die cutters, this should be a good fit for you. If you were to lay this down, you'll still be able to see a little bit of white over here, and it should fit perfectly. Those of you that use the punches, What you can do is you can pull it down and make a pencil mark where you need the trim to fit under yours. Then we're going to apply glue, and we're going to glue that down. And this is going to be something for all of you that use the punches, the large punches. You'll have to measure to fit. So once you glue that one down, we're going to flip all the way to the back, and we will glue this one down back here. So let's do that. To save paper, we are going to be doing some piggybacking of our scraps in here. In your reserves, you will find this square, and if you place it down with the little seam over here, you'll notice that it'll fit pretty good, leaving you a white border. Either way. On the back, it looks like this. Very pretty. We're going to apply glue and bring that over, centered, top and bottom, and glue that down. Next, in your reserves, you will find another lacy piece on the back. It looks like this. So we are going to measure to fit here. So you're going to want to butt that up next to it to where it looks like it's seamed in. We will take our pencil, and we want to make sure that when we do mark it to trim it to fit, that we're not in the score line, the little hinge, leaving a little bit of white border. We're going to trim. Next, and you can keep this out for now. Next, you'll just butt that up right next to that, and we are going to trim to fit this way. So now let's trim it this way, and then we're going to push them together and glue them down. I've got mine down. That leftover piece that we had when we cut our little one, I want you to cut this right down the center. If you do not get it exact, that is okay. We are going to apply glue, and you will notice this will fit side to side. And we'll line it up with the top over there. We will take this piece and go at the bottom. Okay. In your reserves, you will find this. Let's cut out and around this piece. You'll want to also keep this handy off to the side so we don't have to dig into it. I'm going to ink around the edges once I cut this out. Okie doke. If you put this down, you may have some overhang over here and here. That's okay. It still looks really good. And we're just going to apply glue to this and glue that down. Mine is down. We are going to flip to the next 2 pages. In your reserves, you should have another one of these. On this one, we're going to measure over 4 1/4 inches and cut. Now what we're going to do is measure over 4 3/4 of an inch and cut. Measure over again 4 3/4 of an inch and cut. We're going to apply glue to the back of these, and we're going to center these, leaving ourselves some white border there, and we're going to glue those down. Okay, so at the very end of the tutorial, you can go back and cover these hinges with paper. Let's get our last piece, and that is our 2 by 7 1/2 flip, and we're going to fold on those score lines. We will just make a little thing here. This is actually going to bow out just like this, and it will come down and attach down here. So first, let's just hook that on. And this is back behind everything. Just like that. Let's lift this up, and we do need a magnet, and it's going to have to sit towards with only about a 1/16 inch in from that. Okay, let's close this up. Make sure you are flat and it is bowed. Let's grab the mate. Found my other magnet. Now, allow it to bow up like this until it finds the mate. And we'll just let that glue back behind there. All right, let's get our piece for here. And you're also going to want to prepare a long vine and put green ink on it. Take a moment to locate this. In your reserves, you will find this piece on the back. It looks like this. If you were to place this down, you'll notice a little bit wide, but we do want some of our white border on the side. So bring it up to the top where you have a little bit of a white border over here, and this is where we're going to measure to fit. We'll make a pencil mark for this way to cut down so it fits, and we'll also make a pencil mark for this way to cut. So let's cut this way and this way. Once you've did your cuts, we'll apply glue, and we will glue this down right on top there. Let's flip this up and get for our back side. In your reserves, you will find a long piece like this. It is approximately 7 1/4 by close to 3 7/8. Anyway, excuse me. We're going to lay that down and do the same thing we did before. Measure to fit. So let's go ahead and do that. I've got mine glued down, and you should latch to help keep that down. Let's get our vine. Once you've done this, what you're going to do is apply glue to that, and you're going to glue that right on down in the center. We're going to place some Tim Holtz flowers. What I'm going to do is I will place them, and then I'll zoom in so you can see exactly where I put them. But I do want to put this really pretty bling. This is serving to be so cool. This little, this little thingy-mabob here. Stick that there. Okay, we're also going to need to put stickles down. So I'm going to first place my flowers, then I'll add the stickles. I placed all my flowers, so if you would like to pause the video and take a look and place yours the same, do so. The next thing you will want to do is make 3 small little bows, and we'll just place them right there on the edges. It is time to add stickles, so what I'm going to first do is open this up, and I'm going to add stickles to my artwork over here on my leaves. I'm going to outline this. I'll put some stickles over here as well to decorate. I'll put stickles on this, and definitely stickles on my vine and my flowers. Before you do that, let's flip this over. Time for me to take my robe off. It's getting warm in here. We're going to go around the outside like a picture frame. We're going to add another strip right next to the ones on the side. We're going to go 1 down the middle, and we're going to go 2 on either side. And I'll show you mine. This is what mine looks like. So as soon as you are done placing all your stickles on there, we'll set it off to the side. We are on to page 10, and you can mount this in your book as soon as your stickles dries. Page 10. Grab this on the back. It looks like this. We're not going to do a whole lot to this. In fact, grab your stickles and some of the little scrollies and everything over here. Let's just do some outlining of the artwork. So I put my stickles on there, as you can maybe see, just to do some of the outline there. I had you stick this aside for the other page. Let's cut out this. We are going to fussy cut around this rose. So this is what I have. I'm going to put some stickles on here. And then we're just going to put this up in the corner. We will set this off to the side to dry. And this page is complete. This page is so you can just plant a very large picture or 2 different pictures on it. Okay, we are done with page 10. Score tape around the outside like a picture frame, 1 down the middle, 1 on either side. And we'll set this aside with our other one, and we're moving on to our last 2 pages. Page 11. I had you pre-cut a 5.5 inch by 8.5 inch. Whoop, my stomach's growling. So on the long side, people with the punches, you're just going to punch along the long side. I am in that leafy borders. And we are going to move in 1/4 inch from the, whoops, we want to go this way so that our prongs go down. We'll move in 1/4 inch from the side, and we will run this through our die cutter. And you're going to want to make sure you're even from top and bottom. So let's do die cutters. What I want you to do is grab your ruler, first off, and you will place it underneath your trim. And you will draw a line, and what you will do is draw the line, leaving yourself about 1/4 inch between the cut and where you end up. Next, we're just going to take our ruler and angle this like so, so now all we have to do is cut on our lines. So let's do that. Die cutters erase any lines that you may have. This is just a pocket without the scoring. We're just going to lay that down. So you have this. This is our page 11. On the back it looks like this. We're going to lay it to the right side. And we are going to lay our pocket, everybody. So I'm going to give this a little bend. I'm going to center this, bring it all the way over. So I'm going to turn mine, press out, and now let's wrap. And let's tack down our flaps. Let's get our paper. In paper pack number 3, you will find this print. On the back, it looks like this. Looking at it like this, measure over 4 1/8 inch and cut. Now, you're going to measure over 7 1/4 inches and cut. This little leftover piece, set this off to the side. Let's verify this fits, and we will move that over. You will have space right here. Let's glue that down. Okay, this little lace thing here, we're going to just kind of scallop that and cut that out. And then we are going to cut out the feather. Okay, we're going to apply glue to this piece, and we are going to glue it down. And we are going to leave a little bit of a white border on this side, maybe 1/16 inch, and we'll leave a little bit of border over here. And we're going to cut out around, and we'll leave our border on top. And I'll show you. This is what mine looks like. This is just a real shallow little, we're going to put a thin line of glue on the edges and the bottom. And we will place it. The feather. Let's ink around the edges. Next, this little rose in this, we're going to fussy cut around this one. And we're also going to cut out and around this beautiful little frame. Okay, so you have the feather here. I want you to angle your rose right like this, as you can see. And we're just going to apply some glue to get that to stay, just like that. You'll want to make sure your leaves are down there. Okay, This is actually going to slip and come out the pocket, but we need to glue it down. So the part we need is just check what you're doing there. Part of it's going to come off. Well, let's just get this whole thing with some glue. Slide something back behind to catch it. Slide that in the pocket so where it goes off at an angle. And that can sop off anything there. This little photo frame goes right here. Make sure it does not go off the page. If you'd like to back white cardstock, you can. I am not. I am just going to put enough glue so it does not glue my pocket shut. I will do stickles and accent some of my stuff around here, but this page is complete. We will flip it over, add score tape around the outside like a picture frame, one down the middle and one on either side. And then we can mount this in our book. Page 11 is complete. We are now on our last page. Woohoo! Page 12. Page 12, we're going to do the same thing we did on page 11 as far as the pocket goes. You'll want to die cut or punch with the same die you used. So die cutters, you're going to be like this. Remember, you have a 1/4 inch there, and run that through the die cutting machine. Die cutters, we're going to do the same thing we did before. Grab your pencil, line this up, leave a 1/4 inch on each side. Whoops, I got my paper. That's not good. We will draw our line and we will cut. Lay your score tape to install this pocket. Now I would have done a lot more towards the back of the album, however, we only had 3 paper packs. I could have done a lot more with this. It was so much fun to use. So I want to make sure we have enough for picture mats or whatever we would like to do. So I'm going to turn my paper so I can see what I'm doing here. Give a little bend, try to keep in the middle, push out. We will wrap our flaps around the back. We're going to need that beautiful last butterfly, the Darling Heart butterfly for sure. Let's tack these down. In your reserves, you're going to find this long 12-inch piece. If you were to lay it down, you will notice that die cutters and people use paper punch. We're going to have to trim this to fit. But first, let's get the right height. Measure over 7 1/4 inches and cut. We all are going to measure to fit. So we're just going to lay that down to the left. Look where our trim line is, and we will make a pencil mark and trim. We're going to apply glue and glue that down. We will leave this area alone. We won't add a pocket. But where is that butterfly? Woohoo! Gorgeous butterfly. Oh yeah. Oh, where do I want to put it? I want to put it right here. I am going to apply a little hot glue this and glue it down right here. Now, one thing is you can still put a picture down here, which is nice. Now this page is complete. We'll go around the back and put our score tape. I am going to accent again with my stickles. And I wanted to show you what mine looked like on the previous page. Mine is still wet, but this is what it looks like. And once I get the score tape out, it will flatten this page out. But look at that. It really did a lot. And side by side, once I get my stickles all over here, it's going to look really good. Page 12 will be complete, and as soon as all my stickles dry and I get everything in my book, we are going to start laying some pieces to reinforce those hinges. This is a heavy book. My stickles are still drying, however, we can get our little reinforcements in. So, you should have 3 back covers to your paper packs. Let's get our book so I can show you what's going to happen. These hinges here, we're going to be covering them with strips of these. On each one of these, first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to need a total of 6 half-inch pieces. So I'm going to measure over a half-inch and cut, measure over again, half-inch and cut. I'll turn this around then. I'll measure over a half-inch cut, measure over again a half-inch and cut, and we will grab our second back quarter, measure over a half-inch and cut, measure over again a half-inch and cut. Situate so the lace is at the top of each one. Okay, and looking at it like this, the lace would be over here. On each one, measure over 7 7/8 inch and cut. I've cut mine all down. So here's the side with the lace. We're going to flip these all over, and we're going to use our 3/8 inch score tape and run a piece down the back of each one of these. Clip off any score tape that peeks over the edge. Be sure to burnish to get out all the air bubbles. Let's grab our book, and this is very easy. All we're going to do is lay this down, and it should come over the top of your pages and the bottom, and it will hook down. So I'm going to do the first one, and once you lay the first one, then the rest you can just line up. So make sure that you have enough that goes over each side, so kind of center that. Don't get it on your hinge. And it goes up like this. Once you lay this down, we're going to burnish it down. So let's just move on. We're going to continue doing that, and you can see where the top of your piece is, so you can line it up again and do that. So let's do that with each, and then we're going to burnish that down. I've got all mine down. Now, make sure you can use the back of your tool to make sure that's down. Come in at an angle and get in between each one. Now, gaps in between. Now, on the back of your pad where you were cutting, you should have a leftover piece like this. Go ahead and cut this strip, and I'll show you mine. I cut a very long, skinny piece off there, and I am just going to measure to fit. That will fit along the bottom without interfering with my pages and without going over the edge of my thing. So there's one, and I'm going to glue that down. The other one, I'll do the same thing. I'm just going to measure to fit. Once you measure to fit, you'll glue it down. And just make sure that it does not interfere with any of your pages. You should still, if you do a skinny enough piece, maybe even 1/8 of an inch, you should be able to fit that right up there and on the bottom. I have all my pages in my book, and I'm just going to flip through really quick so you can see. And picture mats are a matter of taste. We did a couple to give you an idea, and so we won't be doing those together. There's plenty of room in this album with the spacing to get quite a few in there. So let's do our drits. Now you should have some of that rose, 3/4 inch rose trim that is just absolutely gorgeous. You may want to get your hot glue gun out for this one. Here is the hook, and the hook part is under right now. I'm going to feed up through as best we can this trim. Be patient, but it will go through. And there should be enough left over from the tutorial for you to have just enough. Okay, we'll feed it back down through that little hook thingy and pull it. So we're going to pull these until we have an even amount of tails. That's good enough. I'm going to hook this on, but I'm going to stand this up as we do it. Now remember, we still have picture mats, so you're not going to want to pull this tight. You're going to want to let these go straight out from the sides here, so it looks natural. We're going to take these and bring it around the back. Okay, once you have that spot where it's supposed to be, what you can do is add a little hot glue just to get that tacked. I like standing mine up like this, so I'll just put a little hot glue there. Once I have it, then what I can do is put a little more hot glue underneath there. I can cut my tails if I want, or you can leave them hanging. I'm going to cut mine. And I'm going to glue down the rest of this here. So right here, to cover up this, if you have another one of these, you can glue this down. Again, on this, so that I get a good fit, is just to cut a little circle out of paper. Does not have to be perfect, because mine never is. And glue that right on top, and then I can clip off any white that wants to peek through. Buttons, you can use a button for that as well. So I'm going to glue this down to my paper, and then I'm going to glue it right on top of here. This album is complete. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. This one was so much fun. It really came out amazing. If you are a beginner and you made it through to the end, you should pat yourself on the back and be very proud. What you just made is somebody who has been making these a long time, and you were able to create it as well. They are not hard. It's just a little patience and time. Happy crafting, everybody. I will see you next time.